I'm good, man. Thanks.
It's great to see you. Where are you hailing from today?
So I'm in Todmorden, which is near Hebden Bridge, which is sort of a hippie town in between Manchester and Leeds.
Cool, lovely. Right, I'm just going to put myself in a little window here so we can see you clearly. Did you grow up there?
No, I grew up in the U.S. Virgin Islands in the Caribbean,
Okay.
and I was born in the U.K. and grew up in St. Thomas from the age of 4 to about 18.
And
So I'm not so used to the cold.
were you a dip kid? Were you a diplomatic child, or was your
No. My dad just happened to get a job down there in a shipping company, and
okay?
he went down there and checked it out, and then we moved down there, loved it, and grew up there. So
Cool. And you spent your entire life pretty much working in circus and entertainment. Is that fair to say?
roughly, not entirely. I did computers for a bit, so I worked for a company called Kingston Technology that made computer memory.
Yeah.
And then, but I did a stint there in the UK, and then needed a change.
Cool. So if I read it right in one of your bios, there's not a huge amount on you on the internet, which I was surprised to find. But I managed to search through a lot of things and find an old teaching write-up.
Yeah,
And it said you got your first juggling props when you were 10 years old. Is that correct?
yeah, somewhere about that. I had a cousin that gave me a set for Christmas, and I had some instructions and figured out how to do it. Really enjoyed it. And then over the years, I met other people. I've always been a kid that kind of picked up tricks. Like I liked card tricks, for example, or small magic tricks. When you're hanging out and you go, "Have you ever seen this or done that?" So
Yeah.
I was kind of into that. But I really didn't meet anybody until I moved to England after I finished uni in the States. I moved to London, and just all of a sudden I found this juggling scene, which I think was probably, well, it probably had its heyday already, about 95. And but it was still alive, it was still vibrant.
So
And
just
kind of
before we hit
Jordan,
on the London scene, let's just fresh out a little bit more of
yeah.
your origins, and then we'll hit on, because I know that juggling scene created a lot of very credible, capable, and well-known performers that have performed for decades
Yeah.
after that. So I'd like to hear more about it. Definitely. Did you have a performing family? Were your parents performers?
No, my dad's a musician, not professionally, but he is a performer. I mean, I kind of think I come from I like the technical side. I really enjoy the training. But my dad's, I feel, is a real performer. He likes to get out there. He likes to sing. He likes to play his guitar.
Okay, and in terms of the juggling, was it something from 10 that stuck with you and you were constantly a guy playing with balls and tricks, or did you do it and then it got put to the side and then you
Yeah,
rediscovered it later?
yeah, I rediscovered it later. Yeah, I knew a couple of things. Every once in a while, I'd meet somebody and we'd say I could juggle or you could juggle, and but that was it really. Knew 2 or 3 tricks with it all.
And it's sort of like the standard 3-ball kind of pattern most people learn when they pick up a set of balls, and that was kind of the
That's
level
right.
at that point.
Yeah.
Okay, so you do computer sciences in university?
No, I did history and economics,
Okay.
and then came out and didn't know what to do in my life. So
What were you thinking when you did the course? Did you have a plan when you went in?
no, and I didn't have a plan. I was just going. I'm all right at the humanities. I'll give them a go, and I did okay. But then what do you do with that? So I came out going, cool. I've done that uni experience. Now what?
And so you went to England?
So because I was born in the UK, I had dual citizenship. So I had a British passport. I had a cousin over here, and he was like, come on over. So came on over for summer, and pretty much stayed. Used London as a base to travel from, but basically came and got a room got a job in a post room. Just shuffling letters back and forth. Faxing stuff, photocopying. Very basic. But through that, got into computers a little bit, and then got a job at Kingston Technology, kind of in the IT department, just putting computers together, and loading them up with Windows 1995.
So So you were kind of just like a basic tech. You were slotting
basic tech, yeah.
the Meccano parts that were computer bits back then,
Right.
and then putting is it time for DVD? Put your DVD or your CD, I suppose.
That's right.
Yeah.
And then a little bit of system support, figuring things out. I'm fine with giving things a go. I'm not scared to try. But kind of learning on the job.
Where did you see your life going at that point?
I wasn't really sure. I mean, it was a really good company. They really looked after their people, and I mean, I could have stayed there. I could have stayed there and had a career with that company, or learn the IT skills, and then gone somewhere else. But yeah, then through I was in London in '95, where there was I got in my club scene, so I really enjoyed my dance music. My festival scene all started happening. So I was seeing kind of the other sides of life that were being lived.
Was it kind of an exciting new world? Was that something you hadn't?
It was great. Yeah, nothing. I mean, I've never been living in a really big city before. London, you could just be whoever and do whatever you want. There was a whole, kind of like a whole universe to explore. There was lots of underground scenes happening. You could tap into them and feel part of the community. And that's where I rediscovered juggling, was through that through that rave scene, that techno scene, that club scene, and even just that festival scene. So there we were going out, we were seeing performances on stages. So at the Fridge, for example, they'd always have a fire performer outside, or some UV jugglers on stage, and through that environment, I was meeting people within that nightclub environment that were also having a juggle there, and was just like, that's cool. That looks like fun.
And so, did you pick up balls and instantly start throwing around balls, kind of softballs and juggling?
Yeah, I basically had a friend that we went out, and we said, I'd met him. My brother had spent a year in uni over here, so I'd been here. I'd been to Norwich, and we'd gone to return to the we'd gone to a fest. We'd gone to a party essentially, and we said when I arrived back in England in '95, we said, in a year, let's both juggle, and we'll just see where we're at in a year, kind of thing. And we'll take him out to the nightclub, and we'll have a little juggle, and it'll be cool because we trained for a year and came out. He didn't do that much, but I got really into the whole juggling scene. And also, I found a local workshop. I found other people that were doing it, and it was cool.
So, are you still working in Kingston? Kingston
Technology, yes.
Kingston Technology, yeah.
Yeah.
I remember their their RAM discs.
That's right. Their memory manufacturer.
Yeah.
So yes, I'm still working there, but I'm starting to become a little bit more alternative. I'm starting to I'm finding another scene. With my friends, we decided to created a juggling workshop down in Brixton, which was just when the poi scene was taking off. And so all of a sudden, we were having on Wednesday night, we're packing a church hall, playing pretty loud techno music and just like dance music within there, and just this scene of people from all over the world, people coming from people traveling, coming to London, learning new tricks, and inviting people in, and I felt like we had a real vibe happening at that time, as a hobbyist.
The Brixton workshop is it's got a bit of a legendary status, I think. Amongst
we went from there to we went to the Drome, which was under the London Arches, and there we had some sound systems in there on a Tuesday night, and we get 100 jugglers in the underground vaults in there, juggling, swinging, manipulating stuff. Yeah, it was fabulous.
So to pull back to the year you did with your friend, and so your friend says, I'll meet you up in a year's time, you juggle, I'm going to juggle, we'll see how good we are in a year. How many hours a week are you putting into juggling at this time?
I'm probably like into going on my lunch break, going for a little bit of a juggle, and then getting back after work and juggling for maybe an hour. So at most, like an hour and a half a day sort of thing, but then also going to a couple of workshops a week in London.
So you must be hitting up like 15 hours a week, something like that?
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
I mean, you say at most as if that's kind of, at most, but that's more time than most people would donate to a hobby. That's
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. For me, I mean, I felt like I was touching the edges of it then.
so.
So then, yeah. So yeah, so basically, I was hearing about everybody, lots of people going traveling, and having these wonderful experiences, and I was kind of like going, well, that's what I'd like to do, and I went away not knowing that I wanted to end up as a professional juggler, but just wanting to explore that craft. So I went to places. I went to Thailand. I went to India. I ended up in Australia for a bit, but it was more just to have time to spend not just an hour and a half a day, but to spend 4 hours a day juggling, in four
And is
hours.
this after you set up the workshops?
This is after the workshop. So the workshop sort of happened, and then I was like, right, I've got to leave. I've got to leave work. Leave work.
So
I've got to go traveling.
just before we
Yeah.
travel, what was it like to set up the workshop? How do you set up a juggling workshop?
I mean, we were in the right place at the right time, in Brixton, because we knew quite a. Basically, we had a network of people that were already juggling, and they just needed a place. So between us and a few friends, we had somebody at the door collecting money. We had somebody else that was into the sound system, so they were doing the sound. Yeah, and then word of mouth. I mean, it just it became big. It became big fast. I think there was also within the juggling scene, there have been other juggling workshops before, but this new poi kind of this object manipulation side of things. I mean, jugglers were kind of a little bit snobby about it all. They
In
felt
what
that
way?
poi was quite easy. You swing it around, it looks good very quickly. Your results are very quick. Well, we were just like, yeah, bring it on. We want everybody to come in and have a play and to learn. And then the technical level of the poi went through the roof. Not only from what we were learning, but from once again, London's a hub. People come from all over the world, so we had this little hub of manipulation that was just the experience and technical level was rising. So yeah, it's
And
cool.
you said you had a hub of manipulation, and that could be seen in a very different way if you didn't know the technical terminology that's being employed. What do you mean
Yeah.
by that?
Well, I'm talking about like object manipulation. So I guess before lots of things went into the categories of juggling or hula hooping, but there was contact juggling, for example. I mean, I know you're a contact juggler as well. So that's balls being rolled around your body, being moved in certain ways, and just objects being isolated. So one object being in one place and something moving around, and then that being moved around, and that whole other way of looking at objects seemed to be at a pivotal point of exploration.
And that workshop created a lot of, including yourself, very much so yourself, and many other very well-known now tenants of the craft of contact juggling. Am I correct in thinking that?
That's
People like
right.
Matt
Yeah, yeah,
Heather.
no, yeah. No. It was a gathering place for all sorts of tiny little niche, niche, you know, yeah, manipulation was there. Whether it was poi or contact juggling or staffs or double staffs or hula hoops. Hula hoops, they went on another journey as well there.
And why do you think that? I mean, you said the right time, the right place, and it's very possible that could be the entirety of the description of why it became like that. But do you think there was any other ingredients that made the place such a successful ground for people to develop works? Because if there's so many
Yeah.
great people coming out of it, there's got to be some magic juice there.
We were super welcoming. Everybody that came in, we made them feel like they had a place there. So I think that helped. But I mean, the juggling scene was very male dominated, and with poi, there was a feminine aspect that came through as all. So our numbers between males and females were quite even, which was also amazing. I mean, I think just through the festival scene was big at the end of the 90s, and the free party scene was big at the end of the 90s, and yeah, it was the right time, right place. In Brixton, there was lots going on in Brixton. There was there was marches. There was yeah, eco trip. There was lots of different organizations in Brixton that seemed to be on the pulse then.
Okay, so Brixton seemed like it was a very happening place at the time, and you guys were part of that.
Yeah.
Was the Brixton Club still running by the time you went traveling? Did you leave the Brixton Club and it still
Yes.
was in its? Okay,
yeah,
so
when I yeah. When I came back, the Wednesday workshop at the church was still going on, and the drone was still happening. So, and the drone kept going, and we moved with them. They got another premise, and we moved with them, and then we tried moving again with them to another nightclub. We found this ability to be in a nightclub where things were a bit more relaxed, and there was space, and they didn't mind loud music. That was good for us. And I think we went to some arches in Cloud 9 in Vauxhall, and that was kind of our last bit. And then it got harder to find these spaces that wanted us in them.
Was it just the space that was the issue with the club? Did the nature of the club change over the time? Did the scene change around it?
That I don't know, because I was kind of on my way out from there. So I was kind of moving as well. So I didn't want to be sort of. By then I wasn't. I'd passed it on. I wasn't in charge. I kind of would go and support it, but I wasn't forwarding it.
There was something I heard, and maybe you're not able to confirm this as much, but I heard that a lot of people who worked in that, who were there at that real beginning, kind of, the good time, had become professionals and started developing their craft as a way to earn a living. And suddenly it became less of an impetus of skill sharing, and then that kind of, it made it harder to support the scene.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not exactly sure why, why it ended really. I mean, I think it changed. I think it became what was the one in Spitz, where Dev Kev runs. I can't remember.
I went to the Spearfields one. That was great. I went there, 2005, something like that. And you had 30, 40 people, a little bit of music, very fun, lots of skill sharing. It was a wonderful environment.
So that's what it kind of evolved into. It kind of changed hands. Other people took it on. Other people went with it.
So it kind of just, it didn't shut down in any way. It just slowly moved on and morphed into different places.
Different people took on that vibe and brought it to different places.
Yeah. So you started traveling. What year did you sort of pack your bags? Put the satchel over your shoulder and set out?
I've lost you in the ear.
Let me double check. Turn on microphone. Can you hear me now?
No.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Can you still hear me?
I can hear you. Yeah. The same
no.
thing happened in the last interview. These headphones are strange. Sometimes they turn my microphone off.
Headphones.
So I'll have to go on at that. Okay. So, what year was it that you packed your satchel, put it over your shoulder, and decided to go traveling?
I'm sorry. Let me just think. I don't know. Yeah, that's good. Let's come back.
Can you hear me now?
Again, no. Let me.
Well, hopefully you can all hear me at this point. So I'm hoping in a minute we'll get to hear about the travels, and I suspect,
where it is.
As we talk about these travels,
I'm gonna try and get some headphones.
Cool.
Just give me 1 sec.
No worries. I suspect as we talk about these travels, we're gonna end up hopefully in Australia. And in Australia, I don't know whether it'll be at this point in his journey, but Dimitri starts I don't know if he starts it. I don't know much of the story about this, but I definitely know he was involved in a group called Flame Oz, which are a huge, very well respected circus and fire performance group in Australia who've got international regard. When I talked to Melvin Altwald, somebody who helps a lot to create the archive, who I've interviewed myself, you can check out his interview. It's in the archive, one of the earlier interviews done. He knew about this, living in London. It's an internationally respected performance group. And as he's going on his travels, I'm interested to hear when this group begins and how it begins. So with any luck, hopefully, we should get Dimitri hearing us. Hey, buddy, can you hear us? Can you hear me now? Can you hear? Do we have sound, Dimitri? Can you hear me? Matt to Dimitri. Well, I've definitely not muted myself. It's definitely not me. The thing is, I can't even tell Dimitri how to change his thing because he can't hear me. Let's see if I put it in the chat, then hopefully Dimitri can hear me, so you can see me.
Let's try these. Right. Say something.
Can you hear me?
No.
Ah.
No.
Okay, so
weird.
Can you see here on the chat?
There.
So look at the chat over there, or over there as it may be.
Keep going that way.
So you should be able to. Is in the chat here. Dimitri, I'm going to message him on Facebook. Hopefully, we'll be able to solve that. We'll get him to close and open again, and with any luck, that will solve the problem. And then I will entertain you in the interim.
No. Is that in charge? Close and open window. Okay, let's try that.
There we go. He's heard it. That's me messaging Dimitri. So Dimitri will pop off for a second and then we'll come back. Hello, everyone who's watching. We do have Dimitri here. Dimitri will be back in a second, hopefully telling his story. If you want an update on how we've been going so far and what's been going on in the interview, we talked about Dimitri coming from the Virgin Islands, doing his degree. When he did his degree, he did humanities, didn't know what he was doing in his life, eventually got to London, came to the party scene in London.
I'm back.
Can you hear me now, Dimitri?
Yes, I can. Yes.
Excellent. Okay, so we're back. So very quick update. So then we talked about the beginning of the Brixton juggling workshop, the sort of scene, how it was there. And now we're just coming up to Dimitri leaving London and going and traveling through different countries, going on a voyage of object manipulation. Dimitri, welcome back.
Thanks. Thank you.
You're welcome.
You must have to deal with that so much, like the technical side of this. Yeah,
it's fine. It happens all the time. It's really not. I've got the knack now of trying to just keep talking as you're trying to figure out what's going on.
Right. Okay. Great.
So you pack your satchel up and you think, right, you know, the world's out there. I want to go and juggle all across the globe. How do you start? Have you saved money up from working in Kingston?
Yeah. So I was lucky. I was working at a company, so I had a little bit of a stash to go with. So that was my initial plan. So I might pick up work, but I might not pick up work. But it was just to go and have an experience traveling, really.
And so where'd you go first?
I went to India first.
And why?
I had loads of people that came back from India who said it was amazing and it was a life-changing experience. And I knew it was cheap to live as well. So I went there. And just found accommodation that was super cheap. I could stay on the beach. I could juggle all day. And
are you juggling to earn a living at this moment? Have you ever tried to do shows?
So at this stage, I'd probably done a bit of stilt walking, maybe in a few nightclubs. I'd probably done a little bit of. I'd dip my toe in.
Okay.
Oh, that's right. We went and did do the Lizard Festival, running workshops down there for the eclipse, and that was quite an interesting one where they. And
where was the Lizard Festival?
Well, they couldn't pay us in the end because I don't know if you remember it, but they scared off everybody from coming down to see the eclipse, because they said that the roads to Cornwall will be completely jam packed. So they absolutely scared everybody off. So these festivals that were going on there just didn't get enough people.
Wait,
And what was interesting about that is we went down with a whole bunch of jugglers, and when they couldn't pay us, we went out busking there. So we busked the festival, and that was going out with fire, with so the same crew that was in the workshops in Brixton that would come down to be part of our crew there. We were then going out and doing fire with them, and we had some quite good fire performers. And it was watching them. I think I was just juggling a few fire clubs, and as you know, with juggling fire clubs in the night, they're difficult. They're really hard to do. And it was at that point that I went, you know what? I'm gonna get better, because these guys were doing some amazing things, and I was like, I want to be better at this. So yeah, so we did do a bit of busking of that, and that was just I guess that was kind of a life-changing experience in a lot of ways, because it kind of had me going, cool. To be part of this game, you've got to up your skills. So
yeah, and so you take a bag full of toys. You're in India. You found cheap accommodation.
yeah, well, and then you're meeting other people. You've seen a whole bunch of people with six clubs in their back, and you're like, oh, that's my people. That's my family. So you're once again this trick swapping, being with people that are into it all. Starts happening again. You start traveling as a group, and as well with performing. It's really interesting with fire, for example. It's an absolute blessing and a curse, because it's a blessing because everybody's attracted to it, but it's a curse because it's really hard for it's hard to perform in places because people are scared of it and all the rest. But I think it was the thing that when I started juggling fire, on the Ghats in India, and these sunset places, just hanging out, going, we'll go for a spin there. I think it was where I realized that you can't hide in the corner juggling fire. You really got to go. You really got to own it. You just got to be like, you know what? I'm just gonna own it. I'm gonna be here, and I'm gonna perform it. I can't just be a technical juggler or someone that's into. But if you're gonna juggle fire, you you've just got to perform it. So that was another eye opener as learning to
So,
become a performer.
so when you're saying that you've got to perform it, do you mean this is in? So if you're juggling, and every juggler will probably know this, you can do difficult tricks that have complex movements in them that don't look a huge amount different from any other pattern. But then there's other moments where you're performing, you can do these big open body motions that
Yes.
are relatively easy but look incredibly gesturative and have a great performative quality to them. Is that the kind of thing you're talking about?
Well, what I'm talking about is that, like, as a juggler, like if I had a few juggling balls and I was kind of practicing and doing different things, and people might as people pass, they might look over and go, oh, that's all right. But when you juggle fire, you get a crowd of people that are watching you. So all of a sudden, your mindset needs to change a little bit, or it would change for me anyway. To go, oh, I'm going to do my best things. I'm going to build up. I'm going to have a beginning, a middle, and an end, and
So you start constructing it.
you start constructing it. That's right.
I got you. Cool. And so that's the beginning of you understanding the mechanics of a performance, how to make people enjoy a piece of skill work.
That's right. That's right.
So where does it go next after that then?
So yeah. So I spent time in India and then Thailand and then a little bit in Australia. All the time meeting other people, and then eventually I come back to London. So I come back. I've quit my job, and I'm really I'm just like I don't want a normal 9 to 5 job anymore. So I'm selling a little bit of. I'm still going to the workshops. I'm making a bit of fire equipment and selling it. I'm doing a couple of odd jobs, maybe some stilts, a few things here and there. And then it was my girlfriend at the time. She was just like, right, okay, you've been bumming around enough. Okay, I want you to get a job, kind of thing. And I was like, right. I was like, how much do you want me to make? And she gave me a figure. She gave me a figure, and it wasn't huge, it was all right. but then I went out busking. It was Christmas time. You know, I had my wizard character from in that scene that we were in. You know, one of our guys, Manuele, had he went as more of a druid, kind of like a white wizard kind of druid with a beard, and I kind of went with a blue kind of stripy wizard. And so I had this costume, and I went out to.
Was that just like a clubbing costume? Was that your
Yeah,
thing that you
yeah,
went out to
that was kind of like not going out, but if I had to perform, it was kind of like just slowly getting into performance, going, cool, I would like a wizard character to do contact juggling in, but it was when it went on the street that I realized. Then I was like, oh wow, I can make money at it, and I can make regular money at it.
So,
And
what was your first day in London? You decided, right, I've got to earn a living. It's not kind of
yeah,
just playing anymore. What was your first? Where did you go, and what was your first day like?
I did go to James Street. I went to James Street,
Which
and
is in?
Covent Garden. Yeah. So yeah, it's kind of the statue pitch. You know, I mean, I don't know. I went through the other day and couldn't see anybody. I don't know if it's changed or maybe it was just during the week. And then you got Magic Corner on the corner, and yeah, and I found a spot, and busked, and I was like, oh my god, people are giving me money. You know,
so when you sat down and started doing your contact juggler routine, did you have an idea in your head of what the routine was going to be? Did you already have the concept kind of down?
No, I was just going out and doing it. I was just trying it out, sort of thing. And over time that became a routine. You know, the routine that I was doing all of a sudden started going, cool, you do one ball for this long, you do two balls for this long, three balls, four balls. But I was very much walk by. You know, that was my approach to it all. So it wasn't like I do 1, 3, 4, and then I do hat line it. It was very much, you know, try to keep people involved. People will put in, but then repeat the sequence.
So were you doing 10 minutes of a whole sequence from start to finish?
No, 5 minutes.
Okay.
5 minutes, 5 minutes, then repeating it, and then doing that for hours. And
would you have downtime in between so people would come to give an impetus for people to come and pay?
Every once in a while, I would finish and just be like, and would just stand there, and people would come up. So I'd play with it, but you know, different situations needed it, and different situations didn't need it, sort of thing.
Sometimes you kind of want to keep that bulk of people as much as possible and just drain them out bit by bit, right?
That's right. Because you have new people arriving all the time, and you want to hold that crowd, because once it disperses, then it's hard building it back up again. So.
Yeah, very much so. So did you see after the first couple of days of doing that, of like, okay, my girlfriend can be happy, I've got a job? Is that how you felt?
Yeah, well, I felt like I tapped into something that was working, and that I could go with it. So yes, yeah, it was a problem solver.
And how long did you work that, like 9 to 5, Monday to Friday? Or?
No. It was a weekend. It was a weekend. It was around Christmas time when I first went out, so it was freezing cold.
That's what year it was as well.
It must have been 2000.
Okay.
Yeah, about that. Yeah, it was freezing cold, but people were in that Christmassy mood of giving. So, and then and then you start playing with it, and then you start trying other spots. I mean, I think I go into Chinatown a little bit. I'd go down to South Bank a little bit, kind of thing.
I think as a young man, I saw you down at the South Bank before
I'd even
show or even picked up a contact ball.
Yeah, nice. Yeah. I just try different places and see what it was like, and do an hour here. But I ended up being I wouldn't say I was a lazy busker, but I didn't like having to get there and stay on your pitch. And to be honest, physically, my body could only do it for so long in the format that I was doing it. So I really needed to pick and choose when I was there. And I tried out different times of the day. And I found out
right?
Yeah, and I found it was like the late afternoon. The late afternoon was when when that really started to work for me in that twilight period when people stopped going. They weren't going places, they were just strolling, and it was.
But your difficulty for that, right, is that people came at 6, 7, 8 o'clock in the morning. They
Yes.
got that spot and they weren't going to let go of it when it just got good when you turn up and want to do some
Well, that's
work.
right. That's right. So I'd kind of do maybe a later shift. I'd kind of let people go, and these buskers that'd been there all day would by this time they'd be like, "Cool, I'm done," and then I would kind of fit into the slot that they'd left behind then.
Yeah.
So,
And how different was the show from the first day you did it till it was like, you know, kind of 3, 4, 5 months in when it's established? How much change had happened in the work between?
yeah, I loved it so much that I'd kind of work, I'd do stuff, and I'd go home at night and go like, cool, how does this work? I'd still be up for playing, so I'd still be exploring my skill level in the night and then applying it during the day, you know, to my busking. So in the first few months, yeah, I mean, it smoothed out so much. I mean, it became, you'd have to breathe and just be calm with it. And with contact juggling, for me, it was all just about trying to make that ball look like it floated. And that was my angle. There's loads of different angles for it. You know, my angle was just make that ball look like it floats, because that seemed to be the thing that would bring people in. And then when they
The
were
hypnotic quality
hypnotic, and then you had to build up. Then you had to go from your one ball, your two ball, your three ball, and then they did have an attention span, your audience, and you needed to capture them within that framework.
especially if you're not using the kind of tricks of the trade to keep people waiting for that one trick, which is what the
Yes.
big kind of 300 people shows do. One big dangerous trick, and I'm going to hold you here until that point. If you're doing skills, people don't want to watch skills for a long
Yes,
time,
yes.
do they?
People don't want to watch skills. They want that. Yes, I absolutely agree with that. But looking back at it, what it did do was it really refined a really small bit of material that I could do anywhere, anyhow. And when I started busking less and working more, it was that skill set that I carried into my performance world, and that really held me in good stance.
Yeah, I bet. I mean, the streets have been a great proving ground for a lot of people who've gone forward to work in the performance industry in all different spheres. How long did you work on the street for during that period then? Was that years, months, decades?
Yeah. So then I think I went from there until about, 2000, from 2000 to 2008, in and out of using my wizard in different places, and just it was just nice to have. It was a great thing to, wherever I were in the world, I could go, cool, I'm going to go out and work for a little bit, and it was so much fun. It was so much fun going, cool, I'm in a new country. I'm gonna just go and try it out, and I'm gonna just go find a spot and see how it works. And at the end of the day, you'd always come back with some cash. So
you're
it's
not
cool.
language bound, are you? You don't have to, like circle shows. A lot of the circle shows are dead in the water in a lot of countries if you don't speak the language, because everything's designed to, you're manipulating the audience through language into being a crowd.
Yes.
Whereas if you're performing like you were with this costume, which already sells what the context is.
Yes.
And then the visual thing, right?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. It was very. Yeah. Agreed.
So during that time, that 8 years, did you start working in
I just lost you.
gigs, and did you start selling that act as well as a piece of stage performance?
So little
during those 8 years, did you start selling that piece as a stage?
Yes and no. I started doing a few different cabarets in different places. I mean, I get invited different places. I was doing some festival work, but through then I was also meeting. By then I was also meeting my Flame Oz people. Then, so it was just becoming one piece of all the stuff that I would be doing, sort of thing.
Was that in Australia? Because I always heard of Flame Oz as being an Australian group.
Yeah, so myself and Dave Knox, we basically got together on a project and worked on one routine. And so we had a little staff routine that we were doing and working on, in the early 2000s. And we went over to Australia and we met three girls over there that were on a similar trajectory. They were also working on quite tight dance-based fire moves and fire routines. And so when we met them, it was really easy to go, let's form up. You've got a few routines, we've got a routine, we can make a finale, and then we're good to go. So it was in Australia that Flame Oz started. And Flame Oz started.
And what were you hoping to do with it?
Well, once again, we didn't know, but we knew we had something good, and we had a pitch in Byron Bay. So we were walking in the front. We were working in the front park, and we'd work our show Fridays and Saturdays, and then we would we'd go perform it Fridays and Saturdays, and then work it during the week. So during the week, we'd kind of hang out and do a little bit there, fix a few things, and then try it out. And once again, as you know, like having a pitch means you grow. Having a place to perform means you get better. So through that, our show got better, and then kind of the summer was coming to an end, and one of our members, Faye, was she'd been out to Linz, the Street Theatre Festival in Linz before with her partner, who was a side from Wild Marmalade, who plays Didgeridoo, who's fabulous. But she said, well, why don't we do this European circuit? And so through that we went, all right. So we applied to these different festivals. We made a promo video. We got it out there and we got accepted. So I think Linz was our first festival that we went to as a fire show. And
were you busking there? Were you paid?
We were busking. We were busking. So we were at these busking festivals in Europe. We'd heard they were good. Didn't know anything about them, but we rock up, and we killed it. We absolutely smashed it. I think we've always been, because our stuff's been, we've really choreographed our stuff quite tight, and a lot of the other fire shows were good. They just weren't in the same style as us. We kind of really worked on our beginning, middles, and ends of everything. We did an energy curve, and also, I mean, Dave Knox was great on the mic. I mean, he was learning as he went along, but he was a great front for this act. And so between the this in the beginning, the show at the end, we really hit hard.
And was there difficulty with being a troupe of people? Because a lot of street acts, especially, tend to be lone wolves, or at the most there'd be a double act, because you don't necessarily earn 4 or 5 times the amount of money you'd earn from a show.
Yes. No, you don't. I mean, we were traveling around in we had a van that had been converted. We were just kind of bumming around. We'd sleep in cabbage fields, rock up in the middle of the night somewhere and just pitch up and, pack down very quick the next day. But what we did was we had a lot of fun all together, but it was really hard as well. And the money it wasn't a lot of money. But I think because we were beginning on this journey, we were just like, cool, let's just, this is the idea, this is the dream, to put something together and then go with it. So in these initial stages, yeah, I mean, it wasn't much money. It was loads of fun, and we were learning a lot. We were getting better, and our shows were getting tighter and tighter.
What year was Linz?
So Linz would be about 2003, maybe, somewhere around there.
Okay, so wow, it is very much you're still into doing the wizard at the same time, developing it. You haven't moved away from that yet. Yeah,
my wizard would stay with me. When we were in Australia, I'd go busking in Brisbane. I'd try out the Sunshine Coast, or the Gold Coast. I'd try the Gold Coast, and I'm sure I did it in Sydney. But briefly here, there, just checking out, do the markets around Byron. So that was kind of like my own thing that I'd be doing while our troupe was kind of forming and going places.
And so what happened after Linz?
So first we tried doing a season in Europe and a season in Australia. So we kind of bounced between the summers. Which was quite hard to be, always 6 months ahead of yourself. planning stuff already there and doing it now here in a different country. So that was quite hard. But what we did tap into was so some event companies. A guy named Yanni who produced bigger shows went, I like that. Would you be my fire element within these shows? So we do things. We did like Miss Italy, pageants, and he was and spa openings in Austria, where he'd get paid a lot of money to have. Cool. This is where the aerialists come down. This is where the fire performers go around. This is where the flying trapeze happens. Whatever it was, he had a vision, and we became one element within the shows.
And would you have a set product that you'd basically offer to him? Would you have a choreographed piece that he'd slot into it, or would he?
Sometimes he would, but a lot of times it was like, cool, I need an opening set to this music, and because we'd worked a lot together, we went, cool, we can, and we were able to count music. I mean, that's the other thing, being a not necessarily coming from a dance background. All of a sudden, you need to learn how to count music and get your musicality right and be able to remember choreo, and that's a journey. That's a journey. But we were on that journey. So sometimes it was set pieces, but often it was going, cool, I need your element to happen here. You've got 5 bars of music to do something with some fire clubs, to go there, to open up, whatever it was, and to. Yeah.
And you have dancers in your troupe, right? So would the dancers at this point take point and say, okay, this is how we do this? And
no, I think it was still collaborative in all that. Yeah. But certain people were better at it, of course. Certain people were had real visions, going, cool, because you need that in a group as well. You can't all be in charge. You need somebody that's going to make decisions along that path, because otherwise
I suppose you need a lot of trust, right? If you're going to all work together, and you trust that if somebody knows what they're talking about, you can give your work to what they're in. Do you know what I mean?
Yes. I mean, in general, over the years, this is kind of going ahead a little bit, but right now we've really tried to keep our pieces the same. Just like a good street show, once you start nailing stuff down, you start going, actually, that's quite good. I'm going to keep that the way it is. And so now our show, I'm going to go back just a little bit. With 5 people, we couldn't sustain that. We couldn't sustain that being our show, because, people in our troupe had kids. Other people wanted to do different things. So at one point we ended up splitting up. So because we had different things that we each wanted to do in life.
What year was this?
2000. So 2003, kind of doing that. I think 2005 maybe. So we did a summer. We'd follow the summer a little bit in Europe and a little bit in Australia, and kind of bounce back and forth. We spent some time in Ibiza as well, and we ended up using Ibiza more as a base to travel from than actually. We thought we'd work there for the summer, but used it as a base to travel from. Just as a side note, it was there in Ibiza that I decided to get off my ground as my wizard character and go do the terraces. So I tried out on the ground. And very slow, very little, and I could see the people working the terraces, and I was like, cool, I need another costume that I can use my arms, that I can just have more movement, and I'm gonna go try the terraces, and once again that was great, and really felt like I smashed the terraces in Ibiza. So.
Well, as an interesting side note, that very much is, because it shows you as a street performer, you have to look what's around you, and you have to be malleable to your environment. Yes. You can't be stubborn. Because this works here, it doesn't work everywhere, right?
Yes, that's right. You just got to go, cool, it's not working. How do I shift it? How do I change? How do I move with it? So
exactly that.
So
when you guys,
yeah,
no, carry on, buddy.
Yeah, like in Ibiza, for example, we went out and tried busking we tried busking in Ibiza, and we got shut down. We got shut down with one of those cameras going, we are the Spanish police out on our patrol tonight, and what do we have here? And going over and seeing us like mid-show trying to make it all happen and getting shut down and not knowing exactly what was going on, but knowing there was cameras and there was something strange about this moment. So
you were on Spanish police camera action.
I think we were on Spanish TV. I think we made Spanish TV.
Well, that's one of the claims to fame to put in the scrapbook.
But I mean, Ibiza was great for us. We used it as a base. It was a lovely, warm place to come back to, work on our show, and we were getting gigs with this events company around Europe. But then going back and forth between summers in Europe, summers in Australia, and then we ended up doing a residency for a group called the Phoenix, who are like a really big fire troupe in Austria that were working the corporate scene. Amazing, really good special effects, pyrotechnics, and Mark, he'd seen our show, and he was like, "Well, listen, we are going to go perform our show in the theater in Germany, and we need somebody to cover our corporate work here in Austria." So for 3 months, we went and just lived in their space, did their gigs that were locally. And
I mean, doing their choreographies and doing their work. You kind of
we were doing our own choreography, but to their clients. So he trusted us enough because he saw our material and was like, your stuff's good. So you can cover our work while we go and work somewhere else. And you can.
Was he not worried about you taking his clients?
I guess not. So.
Fair enough. Very, very kind of him.
But at that point, that was the point that we all went, you know what, we all have different parts in our lives that we wanted to do. Grace wanted to go train, so she went to China to do hula hooping in the Chinese circus schools. Dave really wanted to work in the events industry, and he went to work at Missing Link doing bookings, like that whole side of thing. And I wasn't really sure. I mean, I was kind of like, all right, I don't know what I'm doing. That wasn't part of my plan. You know, I thought we were going to go for ages, sort of thing. So,
how did you feel when that all happened then?
Yeah, I think I was disappointed, but also accepting. I mean, this is life. You know, we all change and we move, and it's all right. And on the positive side, I just met a lovely woman. And so all of a sudden in my life, I had space for a relationship. So something
that might push in the blow a little bit, right?
So something to be a bit more serious with, and that's who I'm married to this day. So all of a sudden, my life kind of just gave me some space to go, cool. I can now explore, what this would like to be with her. So we ended up splitting up, going apart. I ended up coming back to England, living up in the Lake District in my van behind a veggie hotel back there where my wife was working, and my girlfriend at the time. And there I'm trying to busk a little bit up in Keswick, just trying things out, but it's hard. My transport issues, and I'm just getting by really at this stage.
And you obviously must have. She's your wife now and mother of children. You're obviously very happy, and I suppose you were very happy back then. But was there a bit of you trying to figure out how do I get back to a point of doing big shows and creating big pieces of work?
Yeah. So I've always been So my mind wasn't going there directly. I was kind of going, well, what do I do with myself now? Where am I at? And because I was involved in kind of the circus scene in the UK, I had another friend named Jago, who was a contact juggler, and I knew what I didn't want was the material that we created with Flame Oz to die. So I went and started teaching him some of the fire. He was doing fire shows as well, so I started teaching him some of the fire routines. And then Dave, who was working at Missing Link, all of a sudden he started getting opportunities to go, oh, somebody's booked a fire show, and I was like, cool. Well, I've got myself and I've got Jago, and so all of a sudden we started doing shows again, and then Gracie comes back from training in China, and she's now like, okay, I'm back in, and then once again, the engine started rolling again. As well, it's Jago who brings in Calvos, which is our silver characters that do contact juggling. So he had a real vision for what he would like to create to work in that corporate market, and he still is a very successful act, which he kind of we each invited each other in to each other's acts. So he came into Flame Oz. He kind of brought Calvus to us, and so it was great. It was a great marriage, really. All right, I may have lost you here.
And so then do you take this stuff instead of now doing the fire shows in the street and working there, instead of doing fire and having a pitch, are you now putting stuff together with more of an aim of taking it to corporate and taking it to booked work and creating a sellable product as opposed to just a functioning show?
Yeah, I mean that's right. Yeah, so now we're taking our fire show to more events, and more corporate kind of events or public festivals. City festivals. We're starting to get booked into this arena.
And what's the different challenge with that? Because it must be it's a different environment to put your work into.
Yeah, I mean, once again, fire is a blessing and a curse. So that blessing, that when I was juggling and I had this crowd of people around me, it was very easy to work with. When you're dealing with councils that want to know how safe it is and where your distances are. And we're starting to work with pyrotechnics now. So we're starting to use stage pyros. So we need to spray distances and all this. So in this environment, the corporate stuff inside as well, learning how to do fire shows inside is another learning curve. There's issues.
Did you have
fight.
professionals you work with for that? Did you go and see fire safety marshals or experts? How did you go about learning that stuff?
Well, through our journey, we have met people that have given us advice. We've watched things. We read our insurance documents, so we know what physically we need to provide. But then we also know, cool, well, what actually is the safety distance, and what do we really need? And we've been in situations, because we've been doing it for so long. We go, well, that is a concern. That's not just that's just not bravado. You can't just be like, that'll be okay. You go, actually, that is a concern, and we need that taken care of. And those are hard conversations to have, if you're booked somewhere and the space isn't large enough, or, one of our things, for example, is with fire props, they spray, they can spray. So, we've learned to backload them and do that, but there's still that. So we've performed on a carpet, for many years, but we need to negotiate that. We need to bring that in. So yeah, there's been a learning curve on that. Funnily enough, our learning curve was at Glastonbury one year for that, where Dave and I got booked for our act of our staff act, and we absolutely sprayed the floor, and it took them 40 minutes to clean the stage before the next act could go on. So that
was like ice skating.
Yeah, exactly. So,
is there any difference in the style of work you present? Not just the safety, not just kind of the administration of it, but the actual presented piece. Has the work changed for the corporate and festival environment rather than the street?
So a couple of things. One thing that's happened with us. So we also still have always kept our toe in the street theater festivals. So we've been out to we tapped into Canada quite a few times. So we've been out there since 2009. We've probably gone out there 5 or 6 times, doing that Canadian festival circuit. And what we found is it's a great place to run our material. So like anything, the more times you run it, the tighter it all gets. And we've gone out with the idea of actually bringing larger teams. So we've brought out teams of 5 to Canada, knowing that the hats will be smaller, but the end result will be that we will have tighter shows all around. And that experience of going, cool, well, how do we create a 5-person show? And then we run it, for a summer. When we come out, we go, cool, that's how you do it. And then that's more sellable. And the other side of things, just in that busking world, and I think this separates us from other fire shows, is that we've got really good mic skills now. So we're able to get on the mic. We're able to build up the crowd, and then we're able to deliver on it. And that's I think that's huge, really, because people can watch things and go like, that was great, but to be able to go, I'm going to give you something great, and you're going to love it, and then you deliver on it, and then you get that huge
Well,
response.
it's that thing of prepping an atmosphere in the crowd that will give you the most bang for your buck when you start delivering the goods, right?
That's right. That's right.
And were you doing a lot of teaching during these times? Because when I researched and did a little looking around, I could find a lot of sources through the years of you teaching in different environments. And
Yeah, I mean, not so much. I mean, I think I've more been exploring that recently. The past 5 or 6 years, doing more. Yeah, I've been like teaching groups to do fire at events, and that's been loads of fun.
well, if
So
that's later on, we can touch on that
yeah, yeah,
later
yeah,
on.
yeah, yeah,
We'll keep some chronology to what we're doing. So you get the crew back together, the band's back together, way.
yeah.
Then you start going around and traveling and touring again.
So what
Does that lead you up to now?
So yeah, so then I mean, essentially, kind of this is where it comes in that we compartmentalized a lot of our material. So so we keep our routines the same. So when you're working with a group, there's a lot of times people go, well, why don't we do it this way this time, or why don't we change the routines here because this might look better this way or a little bit that way, and over time we've kind of gone, actually that doesn't work for us. We need to be more modular because we need to be able to work with all of our members of our team, and so they all need to know the same routines. So we've got really good resources. We've got really good Dropbox links with all our routines and the positions, because now we live in different places. So Dave's there's guys in Bristol, there's people in London. So when we go, which team can we field? We need to be able to come and create a show that's gonna work.
And so when you say you have Dropbox links with routines, that's like it's an internet link with a routine.
Yeah. So yes.
And how do you convey the information on a screen of what the routine is?
So that's just us. That's internally. So that's us recording our routines so that we can go, cool, we're doing these 3 routines. You're doing that part, and that part. And so when we come together on the day, we need minimal prep to bring our show together to a point where it's still strong.
So everybody knows the routines, and so you'd say there's routine A, B, C, for want of a better description. And so you can say, right, you're A, you're B, you're C. So before people even go, they know what props to bring, they know what costumes to bring, and they know what job they're going to do inside of the piece.
That's right, yeah.
How many members do you have now then? Is it 5 people still?
So, I mean, we've had lots of people come in and through us over the years. So I'd say we probably have 10 people sort of worldwide that we can call on, and we probably have six or 7 in the UK right now.
And so when people join, is there like a kind of a schooling period where they get taught all the routines?
Well, normally what happens is it's kind of we meet people, like it was much easier when we were really into the circus scene and meeting more people that were doing it. It's kind of hard for us now to kind of meet. Normally you meet more performers out, which are fine. It's hard because in order to let people you teach people routines. So you find somebody you like, you teach them in the routines, but they need, in the early stage, I mean, they really need to support themselves, because we can only supply so much work. It's only when the work kind of, whatever the core is, when the work kind of bubbles over, that we need extra people to make that work. So we've got people on the outside edges that know the routines, but won't be guaranteed the work. And we just need to be careful because we need to make sure that if they put the time and energy in, that we can at least supply them with at least a fair bit of work through the year for that commitment.
And so do you have the one show, you're not franchising the show out? So
No. Our show's quite modular. Like, not everybody knows every routine. So for example, I don't know the girls' hoop routine, or but there's a whole bunch of routines that we all know. So and we know that if we have a booking, we can chop and change enough, and we know the structure We know the energy curve. We know what to finish with. We can go, cool. Even if we go out in the show does 80. Let's say we perform at 80%. That's still gonna rock it. I mean, if we hit 100, then it's out of the ballpark. But we know that with a little bit of prep, different people coming from different places, stick it together, go do it on the
Yeah.
stage. And a lot of that's thankful to these busking tours in Canada as well, just repeating this material again and again and again and again and again, feeling comfortable out there. Yeah, now we can go, cool. We still need to prep it, but we don't have to be doing it every day. And that's the hard thing with a fire show. And that's the difference. Fire shows, you don't do them every day. You might get a booking here and there for a week, but in general, you work as it gets dark. You work, November, December, you work a lot. October a bit. During the summer, hit and miss. But January, February, March, very, very few fire shows. So it's trying to have a product that you can put together and will still deliver, even if it hasn't been.
That's the thing I'm always surprised about when you go and watch a lot of people's shows is street performers can work the same show over and over and over and over and over again until it's perfect, or as close to. People who do cabaret gigs, they'll get to do it once a month, twice a month. If they're very successful, they'll do it a couple of nights a week. But they're the lucky people. They're not developing work. That works, tight and finished.
Yes.
How the hell do people develop pieces of work? Because it's different on stage.
Yeah. But that's why busking shows are the best, because they've been run so many times. I mean, that's why. I mean, I love watching buskers. You love seeing the show. But once again, like you can catch them on any point of that curve. You might not be seeing. They might be trying new stuff out. Like that curve's there. But when you do catch them doing their best material at this side of it, you're just blown away.
Yeah, there's some amazing acts out there.
Yeah.
So do you have two Flame-Ons performances ever happen at the same time? Are you ever kind of breaking up between the groups to go and do two?
Yeah. So I mean, that's why we have a really big team right now, is that because we get booked, we don't normally get booked as a 5, we get booked as 3s, 2s, 3s, and 4s kind of thing are kind of the normal. So we could have a team working there and a team working there at the same time. So the work's being spread around.
And how do you organize this? Is there someone who is kind of sitting there with a pen in their mouth, kind of, or many years ago, cigar in the mouth, going, right, you're here, you're here, you're here?
Yeah, so we've got some really good structures in there. I mean, one structure is that that all of us can book the act. So any of us could have a relationship with somebody and book the act and then with that booking, we are responsible for who's the team we pick. And within a few rules, but we pick the team. We're kind of in charge. There's a booking fee that comes to that person, that does that. So there is a structure when a gig comes in and where it comes from, how that gets distributed, but essentially the person who builds the relationship with their client, that's their client, and that's up to them how the show runs. But once again, certain of us are better at that than others. And when you start working with a bigger team, which is another benefit, is that you get some people's skill sets really find their place. So, for example, marketing, or getting your material into a place where it's digestible, and you're getting the right pictures and getting the right. Somebody's got to lead that. Somebody's got to be like, right, we need to do a video because we're missing a stage video. So we need somebody that's got the headspace to go, cool, I'm going to organize that. But normally along with that, the person that does that is normally the person that's booking the gigs. So they normally go, if I get that piece of promo, that will get me more work as well. So yeah. So there's an incentive to get gigs.
Yeah, and there's incentive for each individual member to not sit back and say, oh, well, everyone else does that, I'll not do it because of the way you structured it.
Yes.
I don't want to scratch this too much because I know you all still work together. Is it all harmonious?
No, I mean, it's hard work. It's hard work at times. We've worked together for a very long time, so we all have our own personalities that kind of bubble up and can grate each other at different times. At the same time, we know each other very well, so we know we know a little bit what to expect from people, in certain situations. So you've got to be more forgiving. In general, though, we know we have a really good thing when it works, and so I think that buzz from it all is really enough to hold us together. It's really going, well, we could split up, but we lose this really magical thing that we have, and that really, I think, keeps us tight. It's hard. It's hard working in groups because there's always, I think we should go this way, and I think we should go this way. And those decisions are really, they're hard on people because somebody has to, you've got to make a decision, and
And
people feel like,
do you guys vote? How do you make decisions? Is it all members put a kind of a number in a hat, or?
I mean, maybe on some really, really heavy stuff, that would come down to it. But in general, no. It's really consensus. It's kind of going, cool. Yeah, I don't agree with that, but let's move forward. At different times, it's one time we were very meeting oriented. We did meetings regularly, and I mean that was really hard work, but we did get through a lot of shit. A lot of stuff that was just like, oh, how do we sort that out? Well, these meetings were like, okay, let's sort that. Well, yeah, we've got that one. That one's done. But like, as you know, in life, there's always something else that comes up. You go, oh
Oh
my god,
yeah.
that was so hard. I don't know if I could go through that again. You shelve it, and then there's another thing that comes up, and you're like, oh my god, here we go again.
But
So
that's the interesting thing as well, that it sounds like you guys work together with a fairly horizontal power structure. And like all the things we've talked about, you get good things from something, you get bad things from things. And horizontal power structures, or something that's similar to that, is great because you get everyone's skill sets really working to their best. But
yes,
the difficulty is when you have a meeting, don't know if this is true for your meetings, but the meetings last for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours and hours and hours because everybody speaks, and no one can go, right, this is what we're going to do, this is what's going to happen.
yeah, yeah, yes. It's very, very, very. I wouldn't say it's super flat because there's certain people that are getting the gigs. So there's certain people that are, they are the people that are making the key decisions through that whole process of bringing in the most work. But in general, I'd say, I mean, it's in general it's flat. We all have an opportunity to guide the show ourselves and to get the work and to be in charge if that's the role that we want.
And do you see yourself ever walking away from the group, ever giving up doing the corporate scene and doing the firework?
I mean, like it all changes and grows. I mean, that's always been my feeling with it all. That I mean, people always ask you, and they probably ask you too. How long will you do it for? When will your body give up? All this stuff, and you're just like, it will change. It will become something else. And that is always happening. So, but I don't see. I mean, I still enjoy the shows. We're going out to Canada again this year for a week. That's gonna be great. And yeah, I enjoy the Flame All show. So I hope to stay in it for a long time.
How do you feel about traveling with a family?
So yeah, so that's tricky because I can't spend that much time away. So yeah, so I tend not to do some of the bigger contracts. So some members in our troop really easily will go away for a month, and I don't know, do the feria in Mexico, or some maybe a gig in Saudi Arabia that keeps going. And I make those decisions are harder for me to make. So either the money needs to be really good that you're just like, oh my god, I just have to do that because that will make my life easier somewhere else. But in general, I kind of more stay here. I mean, a week is as much as I go away for now. I mean, yeah, maybe 2 weeks sometimes, but a week's kind of a lot. I mean, I'm always away for gigs, so I'm in and out of the house all the time. The key is when I'm back in the house to be really present and just be here and make sure I'm available for the kids,
Yeah.
and be with them, and we also have time away as well all together. So it's just getting the right balance. don't know if you.
Does the family ever come with you on tours?
So
Does the family ever come with you on a tour?
So they came with us. They came to Canada a few years back, and so they had some family in Vancouver, and so I kind of was with them. I went away and did a bit of work, and then came back and was with them there. Occasionally gigs come up, and we go, cool. Can they come? So I mean, locally we've been up to Fort William a few times to do some work up there, and that's been lovely taking them with. And so sometimes there are gigs that it fits in.
But do you feel like it's important for them to have a base?
I think it's really important. Well, right now it is. They're kind of at an age where they've got their group of friends. That the kids, they like this place. Yeah, I think it's important for them to have a base.
Okay. And you said that you did a lot more teaching recently. Is that an effort to be not going away for 6 months touring and have work that's at the base where the kids are at?
Yeah. So I basically tried to keep Mondays and Tuesdays being in the valley where I am.
Did you catch that?
I try to keep Mondays and Tuesdays to be in the valley where I'm at. You hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah, we've got a 16-second delay, I think, a very, very long delay between the two of us now. I've just picked up on it. So please carry on.
So I've been trying to stay locally a little bit more often. So Mondays and Tuesdays I've been trying to be in the valley. I've been teaching at my kids' school, teaching circus there, and that's been great. Got really into my unicycles and stilts. So I've been teaching them, circus all around, but particularly unicycles. I've been really pushing unicycles on them. And then also there's a few local community centers in Burnley where I'm near that I've been going regularly to. And then in the season when it starts getting towards November, December time, I'm normally teaching a group in Blackburn to perform a fire routine. So Flame Oz would do a show, and they would be part of that, doing one routine in there. And as well, locally, I've sometimes run the same project locally here in Todmorden, which is the town that I'm in. So teaching's kind of, I'm just exploring it. I enjoy being with the kids. I think, as well with my own kids, I really want to, give to them, and I feel like I have a skill that I can at least offer. And it's been amazing to watch all of them learn how to unicycle. I've really buzzed off of that.
But you're doing that as a job, right, at the same time. So how are you getting funded to teach?
So
school is paying you to do that? Are you getting paid by the arts council?
So so the schools, there's not much money.
Did you hear me
there,
not much
money in it. Yeah, I can hear you.
Can you hear me?
I mean, there's not lots of money in this environment where I'm working. So it's community stuff. So it's stuff that you do from your heart because you really want to do it, versus stuff that you're doing for the money. I mean, yeah. So some of the money, maybe the school might be privately coming, and some of it will be the community centers will be public money, and the events in Blackburn will be public money, arts council funding somewhere in there. But essentially, you're doing it because you love it and you want to give.
Well, it's a great thing to be able to do, and you seems like you learn from having this cooperative sharing environment, and it makes complete sense that now as you've reached a stable place in your career and you've reached a good point, that you'd want to go and share that. Do you ever get tempted to try and recreate Brixton again? Try and recreate that workshop environment?
That's a great question. I mean, in my heart, yes. In my heart, it sounds lovely. I'd love to create that here. But the reality, once again, even trying to spend Mondays and Tuesdays in the Valley is really hard. With life choices and festival here and something else going on there, and work being offered, and some work you can't turn down. So I think having a regular event, running it, as much as I would love it, I just can't. It takes so much commitment to that, because I think it needs commitment. It needs somebody turning up every week, welcoming people in, making sure everybody's learning something, and just repeating that, and getting a vibe going and moving with it. And as much as I would love that to happen, I can't see recreating that, at least not in that form. So,
Do you see yourself going back on the street?
well, in my heart, I really would love to. I mean, I think I need to go back and really try the circle show. I'm terrified. I'm terrified of it. It's a really. I'm always. I bow down to all the streeties that go through that learning process on the street. So yeah, recently I've been doing more. I've been doing a lot of shows in schools. So because I've always worked for a group, I have my group material is really strong, but my own personal material is on a much slower learning curve. So so now I've just kind of got the cup and balls, the three, the lemon reveal and that. I've got a 5 ball routine that I do, and I've got a stacked roller bowler that I do. But once again, I'm basically finding environments that I feel safe enough to perform, where I should be like a real streetie and going like, just take it to the street, just do it and do it and do it. And maybe if there was a pitch closer, that decision might be easier. But right now, that decision is harder to make.
Well, maybe we can have a chat and try and find somewhere in the forums and find a viable pitch close where you can go and bang out some shows. So, Dimitri, at the moment, I've had a really, really long day, so I'm going to draw the interview close a little bit early to normal. But I have a couple of questions I ask every single person. And first of all, if people are beginning, if they're starting their journey as a performer, as a stage performer, corporate performer, as a street performer, is there anything you'd give them as advice?
I mean, once again, that's the power of the street. I think the one thing you really need is a place to perform. So by having that space on the street, or if it's a gig, if it's a regular gig or anything, just having that chance to go, okay, what am I going to do? And then revisiting again and going, what am I going to do this time? And so you're able to work on your material. It's that repetition. It's that thinking about it. And even now, I've got a gig coming up on the weekend where I'm going to do my roller bowler, and I've got to go, cool, how am I going to run it? What jokes am I going to use with this? I've got to revisit it. I've got to come back to it. And I think having gigs or a street pitch is the most important thing you can have. So say yes to opportunities, and keep getting your material out there so that you can finally realize what your material is.
And you must have, I know you have, because you told me in your interview, you must have met so many people that have helped you along your way, that you've helped along their way. Is there anything you want to say to all the people that you might not meet again in your life, but might see this video?
Yeah. Tremendous love for all the other performers out there. I feel like so blessed to be on this amazing scene, and to see so many shows. Yeah, I've had so many teachers along this journey, and I'm thankful for every even this interview is incredible. It's been amazing to see you. I remember seeing you with the contact juggling ball up, on the street, but also up in juggling conventions, and it's amazing to watch you, become the performer that you are, and as well watching your curve as you keep hitting it, and just we had a little chat before we started this interview, and just hearing your journey and the new material you're putting in, and it's powerful. I think I love growing old with everybody. I love that we're all just getting better and learning, and you go, wow, that's cool. I like that. And some people hit it big. Some people go into Vegas and do that, but it doesn't matter where you go. But just when you're watching people and you go, cool, they're getting better. We're all getting better. We're all improving. We're all working at it.
Yeah, well, I'll be honest, on my journey, I've met you a number of times. You've always been an immensely positive force whenever I've met you. You really have. And it's been an absolute pleasure to sit and be able to soak in your story for a little while. And I hope that at some point soon we'll get you back again to share a bit more of your story. It really has been an absolute joy to chat. And I hope everybody who's watched has enjoyed it too. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for your time. I hope you have a wonderful evening.
Thanks so
Dimitri,
much.
thank you. My pleasure. All the love in the world. Goodbye, everyone.